In this lecture, we'll take a look at the 3 polygon tools and understand where we should be using them. So these tools are the circumscribed polygon, the inscribed polygon, and the edged polygon. So jumping into Fusion, I've opened up a new design, come up to the top, create a sketch. In this case, it doesn't matter which plane. I'm going to go for the XY plane. And if we come under create, then we've got our polygon options here, circumscribed, inscribed, and edge. So let's start off with the circumscribed polygon. I'm going to model this over here. So first of all, we need to define the center of our polygon. So that's the very first click. And then as we bring the mouse out, we can see the polygon begin to form. And there are 2 parameters which we control here. Number 1 is the distance from the center of the polygon to the midpoint of one of the edges. So I'm going to put in a distance here. Let's go for 50 millimeters. Then I'm going to hit Tab on the keyboard. And the other parameter is the number of edges. So the default is 6. I'm going to go in this case for 8. And then finally I can adjust the mouse to change the angle. I'm quite happy with that. So I'll left click once. And there we have our complete profile, 8-sided polygon, 50 mil from the center to the midpoint of this edge. So let's do that one more time and take a closer look at the preview. So we can already see the preview of the polygon here, and we see this circle inside. And so the polygon is on the exterior of that circle, and hence it is circumscribed, in that every edge of our polygon is tangential to that circle. I'm going to now change and move on to the inscribed polygon. Take a look at this. So I'll left click once, again, that's starting the center point. And then as I bring the polygon out, we can now see that the circle is on the outside, and every corner or joining point of our polygon is then in contact with the circle, and the edges are no longer tangential. In this case, again, we have 2 parameters to define. I'm going to go ahead again with 50 millimeters. Press Tab on the keyboard. I'll also change that to an 8-sided polygon. Press Enter, and then we can clearly see the difference between the 2. So one is measuring a distance from the center point to the midpoint of this edge. One is measuring a distance from the center point of the polygon to one of the edges or joining points. And that leads us on to the final of the polygon tools, which is the edge polygon. Scroll over here. So in the edge polygon, the first click defines the starting point of one of the edges, and the second point will define the ending point of that edge. So I'm going to actually put in a distance here. Let's go 40 millimeters. And we've also got the option to control the angle. So if we hit Tab on the keyboard, I'll put in an angle of 30 degrees. I'll press Enter, and then we can see a preview of the polygon appearing. And depending on which side of the line the mouse cursor is, it will determine where the polygon is, whether it's this side or this side. We can also control here another parameter, which is the number of edges. I'm going to increase that to 8 again. Press Enter on the keyboard, and there we have our parameters in place there. Now we can modify these parameters. Let's put this down to, let's go for 25, and I'll change that to 15 degrees. Change this one 25. We can boost this up to 75 as an example. And the only parameter that we cannot later control once the polygon is in place is the number of sides. Once we have defined an 8-sided polygon or 6-sided, etc., that is then fixed. And so if we did want to change the number of sides, we would have to select, delete, and then start again. And so that is a summary of the polygons. The most commonly used one is the circumscribed polygon. But again, situationally, you might be in need to use either of the other 2. And I will see you in the next lecture.